In the same way that Darth Plagueis would view the era of the Rule of Two initiated by Darth Bane a millennium earlier as having reached its end with him, Darth Sidious was certain that he would execute the final actions of the Sith Grand Plan, destroying both the Republic and Jedi. Because he would be the one to bring about the Grand Plan started by Bane, declaring the Rule of Two at an end and replaced by his Rule of One, while Sidious might take Sith apprentices, he would never truly choose a replacement, someone who would take his title as Sith Master. In this way, apprentices were chosen by Sidious as a way to ensure the Sith Order remained strong, as a powerful apprentice would assist in increasing his own power. But they were also trained by Sidious as a way to honor the tradition established by Darth Bane, showing a commitment to the genius that began a millennium earlier. The recognized power could not be shared by thousands, and the dark side had to be embodied in only a single master and apprentice. With these thoughts regarding the Rule of Two revealed by Sidious in the novel Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader and the Book of Sith, it might seem as though Sidious would have no reason to provide details about the Rule of Two to any of his apprentices, including Darth Maul, focusing more on training him specifically for his role as a Sith assassin and expanding his knowledge and skills in combat. The combination of the diminished importance of the Rule of Two in the era of Sidious and Maul's training and efforts perhaps being more focused on combat and carrying out missions congruent to his role as a Sith assassin, we might think it's likely he went through his entire apprenticeship by Sidious prior to Episode 1 without being taught about the Rule of Two. However, as we'll see, Darth Maul was taught an exceptional amount about the history of the Sith and their teachings during these decades, including being taught about the Rule of Two and its importance to the Sith. After being sent to Mustafar by Sidious during the earliest years of his life in preparation for his training, Maul wouldn't yet recognize that Sidious was a Sith Lord. And yet, during one of the rare and brief encounters Maul had with Sidious during these early years of his training, Sidious asked his future apprentice whether he'd come across the Sith Order or its members during his studies of galactic history. When Maul confirmed he hadn't, Sidious noted that was because the Jedi had destroyed many records of them, and began briefly revealing the history of the Sith. Again, with Sidious giving no indication that he was a Sith Lord or that Maul might become one himself, he began with the Great Hyperspace War and the Sith of that era who lived to discover the Jedi and Republic, roughly 5,000 years earlier. Most importantly, Sidious would note the defeat of the Sith in this war, despite their armies including large amounts of Sith Lords. Moving next to Freedon Nad's efforts and then Exar Kun, roughly 4,000 years before them, Sidious would specifically point out the importance of their establishing a Sith Order ruled by two, a master and apprentice. The same was then revealed for Darth Revan and Darth Malak. But in these examples, Sidious explained that the Jedi ultimately emerged victorious in the wars the Sith brought to the galaxy, because they ended up fighting each other. Infighting was the catalyst for the Sith Order's defeat. Clearly, Sidious was building to the emergence and importance of the Rule of Two, turning next to Lord Khan and the Brotherhood of Darkness, and their misguided attempt to avoid infighting by creating an order where no Sith Lord was above any other. But yet again, the Brotherhood of Darkness and their armies of Sith were defeated, destroyed by the Jedi. Importantly, Sidious would then tell Maul, still more than 2 decades away from the events of Episode 1, about the only Sith Lord who survived the new Sith Wars, Darth Bane. Sidious explained Bane understood the Brotherhood of Darkness was wrong to believe in strength and numbers, as too many Sith Lords only created jealousy and competition for leadership, again promoting infighting among the Sith. For this reason, Maul discovered through Sidious that Bane established the Rule of Two, where there would only be one Sith Master and one Sith Apprentice, preventing infighting that would benefit the Jedi. It was a lesson that Maul would clearly remember from his early years on Mustafar, as when Sidious finally revealed that he was a Sith Lord and provided Maul with his final trial to prove whether he was worthy of joining the Sith as Sidious's apprentice, Maul would demonstrate his respect for the Rule of Two. During this trial, which took place only 5 years before Episode 1, Maul was sent to the outer rim planet of Hypori, forced to survive on the planet for weeks while being confronted by assassin droids. When Sidious finally appeared to confront a weakened and exhausted Maul clinging to consciousness, the Sith Lord began to taunt Maul, expressing that he misjudged whether he could adequately become his apprentice. In fact, Sidious told Maul he expected as much from him, and knowing his failure was unavoidable, he secretly trained another apprentice who would replace him. This reveal enraged Maul, telling Sidious he broke the rules of the Sith, as training more than one apprentice wasn't allowed due to the Rule of Two, showing his respect for Bane's teachings more than a millennium earlier. With a smile emerging from Sidious, he agreed, confirming Maul was correct, and even provided a rare compliment, noting the understanding shown by Maul, demonstrating that he remembered the lesson from years earlier on Mustafar. After his anger at the idea of a second apprentice caused him to lash out at Sidious, Maul passed his final trial, with Sidious granting him the title of Sith Lord and making him a member of the Sith Order. With that, Maul joined the Sith, demonstrating his understanding and commitment to the Rule of Two. Interestingly, Maul joining the Sith in this way was a breach of the rule established by Bane, given that Sidious was still the apprentice of Darth Plagueis. Plagueis had of course agreed to Sidious training Maul decades earlier, but Sidious didn't adhere to Plagueis' orders not to reveal important information about the Sith, and to limit his training to combat and developing his strength in the Force, which as we've seen, Sidious did not do. Given Maul's unmistakable respect for the Rule of Two, this situation did cause Sidious at least a small amount of consideration as seen in the novel Darth Plagueis. In the months leading up to the Phantom Menace, before he eliminated Plagueis, Sidious wondered how Maul could be brought into the Sith Order, and how his apprentice would react when learning that Sidious was actually an apprentice himself. With Plagueis' death and Maul's defeat to Obi-Wan on the Boo occurring at roughly the same time, the reveal never took place. But without question, Maul learned about the Rule of Two during his earliest years training on Mustafar, before Sidious would even reveal his own identity as a Sith Lord. He understood the long history of the Sith and their defeats caused by infighting that would be the catalyst for Bane establishing the rule, and Maul came to be an adherent of it, recognizing why the Sith implemented the Rule of Two and its importance to the future of their order. So there we have it, how Darth Maul learned about the Rule of Two. Thank you very much to all of the Patreon members of Star Wars Reading Club, as your support is so greatly appreciated. You can find all of our social media links and a link to our Star Wars gaming channel in the description below, for updates and even more Star Wars content. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me... For important lessons learned on Mustafar.